Hey there folks, this is GreenXI welcoming you right back to Let's Play Higurashi. This is episode 81. In last episode we started chapter 4. We found out that the kidnap victim, the grandchild, is alive. Even though that confused the hell out of me, that tip from before then, so I don't know what went on there. And we found out that Akasaka and Ooishi might be on a trail to ghost town that's near Hinamizawa and everything that you have to go through Hinamizawa to get to and stuff like that. So if we carry on with chapter 4 now, I think we'll see what else is going to happen. Yeah, good work everyone. I know it's hot, but please do your best. If you catch anybody illegally dumping, please contact someone immediately. We'll act quickly. Thank you for your cooperation, Ooishi-san. Please. A gap wide enough for a single car was opened up in the barricade. Oh yeah, that's the excuse they were using, isn't it, for having the barricades up, the fly tippers and stuff. Ooishi, showing his gratitude, or perhaps a threatening attitude, with a short beep on the horn, rolled the car forward through the checkpoint. Oh, nice car. It's the first time we've seen it from the outside. This time, my appearance was the very embodiment of the word suspicious. A baseball cap, mask, and sunglasses. On top of that, even though it was sweltering, I was wearing a hoodie. Any respectable police officer would be loath to not stop me for questioning. I'd meant to be overcautious, knowing full well that my face was known. But it might have already been too late for that to have any use. Using that as an excuse, I doffed the unbearably hot hoodie and windbreaker, ripped off the mask and hat, and threw them in the seat behind me. What does doffed mean? Take it off? Offed? Is that... Oh my! Is that okay? With a cheap little disguise like this, they probably figured it out anyways. Anyways. Yeah, that just might be the case. Ooishi, probably thinking that my unexpected behaviour was funny, continued to laugh. The beautiful and pristine scenery of Hinamizawa spread out before me. The village itself would have been quite beautiful if it weren't for the complicated circumstances surrounding it at the moment. I would absolutely love to take Yuki here for a drive one day. Excuse me. Come to think of it, I didn't get a chance to call her last night. I played around with the idea in my head, but in reality, this village was no sunshine and rainbows. Alright, now then, no. I had heard everything at the prefectural headquarters. At the heart of this village, the intelligence network that the three families wielded was, due to blood ties and regional relationships, unbelievably well organized. Their net spread, not just around Hinamizawa itself, but encapsulated the entirety of the city of Shishibon as well. When I first heard that, somewhere in the recesses of my mind I didn't take it completely seriously. How could a local organization out in the boonies here have something so grandiose? I couldn't deny that somewhere in the back of my mind I had ridiculed the thought. But not only were they really threatening the minister, but they had demonstrated they had complete grasp on our movements, which were supposed to be top secret. They were almost like the secret police that controlled a small Eastern European country, like in some spy novel. The villagers here wouldn't bat an eye at getting their hands dirty if it meant fighting the dam project. I had also heard something like that at the prefectural headquarters. Ah, now that you mention it, when I first arrived here, Ooishi also said that this place was a war zone, didn't he? The residents of the village were at the same time freedom fighters, although by definition they were no different than guerrillas or militia. They weren't protected by the Geneva Convention, but they also didn't have to adhere to those rules either. This place was more of a quagmire than any legitimate battlefield. Oh my god, I can't talk. A secret war was unfolding. I could drive along beside Ooishi was with me. But if I was to leave this car for even something as trivial as looking for a vending machine, there was a chance I wouldn't return. Even though a single shot hadn't been fired, this was a battlefield. No, the reason why bullets weren't flying was simply because it was hard for a civilian to obtain a gun in Japan. So they were probably just equipped with weapons other than guns that were easier to obtain. That was why Ooishi was wearing that stab-proof vest, wasn't it? Akasaka-san, you nervous? The fact that I was apprehensive was, of course, picked up by Ooishi. If you already figured it out, there is no point in trying to deny or hide it. Of course I am. We're headed into the heart of enemy territory alone, aren't we? I'm worried about if something unlikely happens with just the two of us. Something unlikely? It'll be alright. Isn't everybody in this village our enemy? If everybody gets their stories straight, they could murder someone in broad daylight and there wouldn't be a shred of evidence. I'm asking about something like that. This was what the ironclad rule of not barging into a Yakuza office alone was about. If there wasn't a neutral party involved, that area wasn't bound by the laws of common sense. If something happened, you wouldn't be able to prove it, and there wasn't anybody who would take your side. It was pretty much the definition of poking the bear. I've left word that we're headed towards the Hinamazawa area, and in the worst case, we've also got a radio. I know you're scared, Akasaka-san, but it's not that easy to pull off the perfect crime. Well, of course that doesn't mean we can let our guard down either. Is there no music, or is it just something going on with me? No, I don't think there is any. Anyway, Akasaka-san, you're too worked up over this. You were more relaxed the last time we came up here together, weren't you? Laughing it off, Ooishi thumped his chest and grinned, as if to say I could depend on him. Well, if it gets really iffy, this comes with having the badge. Ooishi made a motion by sticking out his index finger. It was undoubtedly the image of a gun. Will it be of any use? If you're not afraid of dealing with the aftermath after you shoot, it's actually very reassuring. An officer's gun was only for show. If you really wanted to fire it, there were quite a number of stipulations, and you had to be prepared for the long probationary period afterwards. I can understand that. I mean, if you shoot someone as a policeman, then the whole police in general will get blamed for it if you do it wrong. It'll be in the media, you'll be shat on. That definitely wasn't worth it. So even if an officer did unholster his gun, there wasn't one who actually wanted to pull the trigger. Akasaka-san, you carrying one? A piece? Well, yeah. You ever fired it? I have. For training, though. Well, I guess that'd be true. Well then, have you, Ooishi-san? Me? No, there's no way. What was this? I thought he was laughing at me because he had experience. The two of us laughed together. I've also never pointed the barrel at anybody. I've looked down the barrel of a gun a few times, though. Just being made to look down the barrel like that is enough to shorten your lifespan by about 3 years. Even if he had never fired a gun before, you couldn't even begin to compare the amount of experience Ooishi had over me. At a time like this, I could only marvel again at how reliable Ooishi seemed. Come to think of it, I didn't want to come this way in the middle of the day, but there's no way for a car to get through other than here. Akasaka-san, just in case, put on the mask again to hide your face, please. What's the matter? Can you not hear it because the air conditioner is too loud? I'll turn it off. Try opening the window. When I opened the window, a blast of hot air blew inside, and then I could hear angry yelling coming from far away. Oh, I think I know what part's coming. Oh, music's come on. Let me turn down. At that moment, the forest gave way on either side of us, and our view expanded suddenly. And there could be seen the Hinamazawa Dam construction grounds. The very front line for Hinamazawa village. We're absolutely opposed to the construction of the Hinamazawa Dam. The crackling blare of someone's voice sounded over an enormous loudspeaker. The roar of angry voices continued to rumble. The incredible volume had become a veritable sound cannon, spewing out its ammunition. The prefabricated site office was surrounded by 2 sets of high fences, laced with barbed wire. Lined up in front of those fences were riot police and their vehicles, and surrounding it all were the villagers. They howled out their protests against the dam as a single entity. Oh, there's not too many of them today. We're in luck. That's not too many. Yeah, when there's a lot of them, the crowd reaches as far as the road. You wouldn't even be able to inch forward in a car. At first, due to their overwhelming intensity, it looked to me like there was more people than there actually was, but upon closer inspection, there were at most 50 to 70 of them. But the 6 or 7 propaganda trucks lined up that looked like they belonged to a band of thugs were a strange enough sight. The villagers were also wearing helmets and bandanas, as well as covering their faces with masks, adding to the oddity of it all. The propaganda trucks, after braying their chorus, had their volume turned up even higher and began to flood the area with sutras. To say that the noise was downright violent wouldn't be an understatement. From this distance, it was still this loud. The glass in the office was probably rattling from the noise. They can't do anything there but take it. Those riot squad guys, every one of them is wearing earplugs, but they're still having their hearing damaged. Poor sobs. Can't you do anything about it with noise ordinance laws? Our prefecture doesn't have any laws regarding noise ordinance. Also, those are sutras, right? We can't regulate religious activities. Those guys are pretty smart. Is what I think, Ooishi said. Yeah, because it's so loud. Actually, no matter how tightly the window was shut, the booming sound of the sutra still filled the car. I couldn't even hear what Ooishi, who was sitting right next to me, was saying. As the car approached the line of propaganda trucks, the blare became difficult to bear. It wasn't enough to just plug my ears with my fingers, I had to hold my head to keep my skull from splitting apart. If I had seen this terrifying energy sooner, I would have probably understood what Hinamazawa village was much quicker. Now I knew. They wouldn't blink an eye at sacrificing themselves in order to protect their hometown. Ah, so goddamn noisy. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. My head throbbed and felt like it was going to split apart. My eardrums crackled, and on top of it all, I felt like I was going to throw up. With the road crowded with a throng of squatters, the propaganda trucks, and the riot police's vehicles, it was in no way easy to get by. Even if you tried to shoo the squatters with a car horn, they were also wearing earplugs, oblivious to noises from the outside world, and wouldn't easily move. The car could only inch forward at a snail's pace. Even then, the car eventually got through, starting to leave the tumultuous noise behind. Hey, the bald guy that was playing mahjong with us last night. Remember him? I remembered that there was an older person who didn't exactly mince words. The guy that Ooishi called Old Man. There's someone like that. You see, he's the foreman of the main construction site. He's probably holed up in that prefab building, trying to work while irritated out of his mind. Poor fella. You won't be able to stand it if it's like that every day. That confused me. Okay. Yeah. There's no end to the number of people who can't handle it and quit. But every time that happens, their wages go up, so I won't say it's in vain. Even having to deal with all that noise and hostility, they still made a wage that Ooishi found enviable. Damn it, these guys. Can they hear it or can't they? A group of squatters were in the way of the car. Ooishi, sufficiently annoyed, laid into the horn, but there was no indication that they were moving anytime soon. In this din, could they not even hear a car horn? Or did they hear it and were being malicious? If there were any riot police nearby, they would have made people move, but just so happened there weren't any around here. Ah, jeez. Wait just a minute. Ooishi opened up the door. The hot air and even more heated roar of the crowd spilled into the car. Ooishi said something as he grinned widely, but I couldn't hear what it was. He was getting them to move. Something like that? Ooishi stepped out of the car and closed the door. The din faded slightly. I stared blankly as Ooishi headed towards the group and started some sort of conversation. Maybe we'd find the minister's grandson at Takatsudo. At the very least, I wanted to find him here. Find him and slip the cursed bonds of this incomprehensible village. I could only pray. At that moment, a shadow was suddenly cast over me. Somebody was standing right outside the passenger side window, blocking the sunlight. I spun round, looked up, and realised who the backlit figure was. Oh, hello. Huh. It was a girl. Excuse me. It was Rika Fude. The girl stared down at me with a bored look on her eyes. I didn't have any justification for it, but I felt like I had been found by somebody I shouldn't be found by. To fill the silence, I raised my hand as I mouthed a meek greeting. Of course, there was no way she heard my small voice in this clamour. But even then, she should have seen me wave my hand in greeting. In spite of that, she simply stared down at me with a cold look on her face. At that moment, the noise and heat spread throughout the car once again. Ooishi had returned to the driver's seat. Taking a look, the group that were blocking the road had started to move aside while glaring our way. Sorry to keep you waiting. Should we go? Ooishi registered the figure of the girl behind me. One of the villagers came over and picked her up, in a manner of, "It's dangerous, so get away." It was then that she whispered one or two words. However, I couldn't hear any of it. Well then, let's go. I'm going to gun it, okay? But of course, still within the speed limit. Okay. As if to shake off the still audible angry voices, Ooishi floored the gas. Along with the roar and the din and the shouting, the villagers and the girl quickly disappeared behind us. As soon as we're through here, we're in Takatsudo. You okay if we end up getting into a firefight? Honestly, in the anime, in the manga at least, you see Mion doing all that part. I think it was doing all that part. And she's fighting her way. She's, fighting for the village as well. Don't be fumbling with the safety at the last moment, you hear? Ooishi laughed mockingly again. I was more concerned with what the girl had said, however, as I was vaguely bothered by it. What was she trying to say with that apathetic and candid expression? Suppose it's normal if you're nervous from here on out, but if you don't deal with it, there's a chance you might do something rash. But there were no longer a way to confirm what the girl had tried to tell me. It might have been that the girl who warned me to go back to Tokyo again, or else, was saying to me, who was here now, ignoring that warning. Even though I warned you. What a fool. I had the feeling she said something like that. Oh, that's the end of the chapter. That was a short one. We still got tips to go, but okay. I'm surprised. But what did Rika say? I'm pretty sure the next chapter will be the last one, by the way. Oh, it's still going. I don't know how to carry on though. You know what, we'll carry on. If it reaches like 45 minutes, we'll have to stop and break. If we were to call Hinamazawa a rather lonely village, then Takatsuro was outright desolate. For your everyday city boy like me, I just couldn't understand why anybody would force themselves to live here. There were signs that people had, but they were all covered in dust or enveloped in ivy, indicating that it was all abandoned. People really lived in a place like this, didn't they? Well, it was a long time ago. A remote place like this is pretty rough for old folk to live, and the younger people probably wanted to try living in a more suitable place. If there's nobody left to take the reins, all that gets left is this. Even if I had no personal attachment to the village, seeing the disused buildings made me feel a little sentimental. It seemed that Ooishi also felt the same way. It is quite sad if... I've never done it, obviously, but if you go into a village and everything's empty, like you can see that people used to live there and everything, I can see why it would be a sad place to be. Was the wallet found over here? The person who found it must have a good reason to come out to this desolate place. Yeah, there's some villagers who have a field out in the mountains here. They pass by here in the morning and evenings. The villagers who work in the fields walk by here every day? No way. They probably go as far as they can by car. So in the early mornings and evenings they pass by here and just happen to find a single wallet? They probably did. Where exactly did they say they found it? In a thicket just a bit further ahead. The person who found the wallet just happened to have some stomach cramps, was planning to use the thicket to do his business, it seems. Another person with stomach cramps, oh lovely. Even though the boy is faking it. It was there he happened to find it. Probably hoping there was some toilet paper in there. Okay. Everything about that story just seems a little too convenient. Right from the discovery of the wallet, I just can't shake the feeling that something's off. I expressed the feeling that I had from the start of the day, quite frankly. It seemed too good to be true, but it was unwavering proof. But it was too perfect, sickeningly so. That was my feeling. You might actually be onto something by saying it's all a little too perfect. Meaning? The truth is, I heard a little something from a friend of mine in the 4th Division, where Oyu Sanazaki referenced the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. She referenced it? Yeah. It's been several days since the minister's grandson had been kidnapped. Poor boy. It'd be nice if they let him go soon. She said something similar in the tips, didn't you? Something like it. Seems that old Oyu muttered something like that while on her veranda, and that little museum was conveyed to the various people working deep with it behind the scenes at the Sonzaki family. Right. I'd heard something earlier from Sato-san, the informant, that when the leader Oyu had a concern, somebody in the family would be considerate. So, in essence, she gave the order to release the hostage? I see it that way. The wallet being conveniently discovered was just a ploy to hand the boy over to the police. Why would they release the hostage? Yeah. Well, there's only one reason why somebody would release a hostage, isn't there? What is it? They reached a deal. That would mean the minister promised to halt the Hinamazawa Dam project. The dam project will definitely go away. At that moment, those words that the girl had said resurfaced in the back of my mind. In the end, it was turned out exactly as she had proclaimed. That young girl knew the circumstances. She knew everything about this kidnapping incident, from the beginning to the end. Akasaka? The girl unexpectedly called my name. What is it? Go back to Tokyo. Huh? Before long, you will woefully regret coming to this village. That would be an incredibly pathetic thing to see. So I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I come to regret it? Stop whining! When you tried crossing the road when the "Don't Walk" sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? They'd pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. Oh god, creepy laughing. The girl, who knew everything from start to finish, had warned me in the beginning, go back to Tokyo. Akasaka is such a coward. Mean. We'll probably find the boy, but what happens afterwards will probably be a bit of a problem. How it'll be a problem, though, is something a single officer like me can't figure out. Do you know? A girl named Rika Furude? What I had said was such a non sequitur that Ooishi sat in stunned silence for a while. Of course I know her. She's the only daughter of the Furude family, one of the 3 families. What kind of girl is she? Well. This was an unexpected name to hear. I'm a bit surprised. Does public safety think that the Furude family smells fishy and wants to keep an eye on them? Share some of that information with me, please. No, it's not like that. It's just something that caught my attention. Well, whatever. It won't do to not answer a question from a friend I've sat at the same table with. I'm honoured that you call me a friend. So, that little lady is, well, somewhat of a village mascot. She's beloved by everybody in the village. Some of the older folk worship her especially. Worship? I don't know much about it, you see. Girls born in the Furude family are somewhat of a sacred implication, it seems. It's one of the local beliefs in Hinamazawa. The living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama, or something like that. Or so the story goes, apparently. Oyashiro-sama? Now that you mention it, I think I saw Oyashiro-sama written on some of the Alliance's banners. What is Oyashiro-sama exactly? Oh, we already know. It's the name of the guardian deity of Hinamazawa. They believe it'll exact punishment on those who would do ill towards the village. Well, if there is such a convenient god around, the guys at the dam would have long since been done in by divine justice. Luckily, nothing like that has happened to anybody just yet. The grandson of the minister who trifled with the village as a result of Oyashiro-sama's anger was... what did they call it again? Oh right, Onikakushi. The minister's grandson was demoned away. Okay. That would probably be how the script is being written. I see. Probably would turn into something like that. Divine punishment wrought by Oyashiro-sama. Then, the culprit is the living incarnation of Oyashiro-sama. That girl? Even I didn't know exactly what I was saying. The fact that Ooishi laughed it off was a bit of a relief. Ooishi's joyous laughter was so infectious that I began to laugh like an idiot as well. Oh, this is unusual. Ooishi, after laying into the horn several times, rolled the window down and leaned out, waving his arm in an exaggerated manner. It was a car headed the opposite way. Until now, we hadn't run into any other cars except our own. And of all places, it was at this desolate location. It seemed that Ooishi knew the owner of that car. The other car also chirped its horn and came to a stop. Dr. Irie! Oh, my son! Yeah, we've seen him, that he was there looking after the boy. Good afternoon. The other car's window rolled down slowly, revealing a young man in a white overcoat. He was about my age, or perhaps a bit older. But you really can't judge somebody by their appearance. Right, if it isn't Ooishi-san. Good afternoon. Fancy meeting you here. That's my line, Doctor. I never thought I'd see you here. What happened? Oh, nothing. Just a little house call. Oh, really? Was it an emergency? No, nothing quite that serious. Thankfully. I'll take my leave here. If I don't get back quickly, my staff will be angry with me. Being the head of a clinic must be tough. Well then, take care. The young doctor named Irie, after gesturing his farewell, drove forwards and soon disappeared around a corner. Ooishi also drove forwards, but soon came to a stop again. He pulled out a worn map book from the dash. His expression didn't have an ounce of irreverence. He was perfectly serious. What is it? The clinic shouldn't be making any house calls today. It must have been quite an emergency, or otherwise a patient with some extenuating circumstances. Ooishi flipped through the pages, opening up to the map of Taketsudo. After that, he took a look around and started to figure out what our current location was. You saying that emergency is suspicious? Didn't I say? There's hardly anybody that lives in the Taketsudo area. The road we're on right now is here. Dr. Irie came from this direction. Having no sense of our surroundings, I couldn't digest anything about the place he was indicating on the map. We're heading towards the spot where the wallet was found. By the way, that's over here. But see? If you're heading to one of the few residences in Taketsudo, it's the wrong road. Meaning, Dr. Irie came from a direction where there are no residents. As long as somebody working in the fields between these mountains didn't collapse. But if somebody collapses and you call a doctor, normally you'd bring them back with you for a more detailed examination. But just now, Dr. Irie said it was nothing serious. It didn't seem like anybody else was in the car with him. It does seem suspicious. Ooishi didn't say any more than that. I also said nothing more. That doctor just now examined a patient. Close by. Only that. The noisy radio had suddenly gone quiet. The sky had just as suddenly turned an oppressive colour. As Ooishi mused that it might start to rain, a torrential downpour started, as though trying not to disappoint him. Eventually, Ooishi stopped the car. The only sounds to break the silence were the percussion of the rain on the roof and the soft squeak of the windshield wipers. Let's do this a bit hush-hush, shall we? Saying that in a quiet voice, he exited the car without an umbrella, careful not to make any noise. Oh, it's a shed. That's a weird shed. It's like up a bit. Ooishi leaned over, indicating the other side of the thicket. He was pointing to a prefabricated shed and a car that was parked beside it. Oh my god, I got the burps. The car looked obviously well cared for. It wasn't a vehicle that had been left there for several years. What's that shed? It contains equipment used by the forestry service. I heard that they don't go near it except during the summertime. Does that car belong to somebody from the forestry service then? Dunno. It doesn't look like an official vehicle though. Ooishi was playing it cool, but my nervousness was gradually increasing. Just in case. Saying that, Ooishi returned to the car. I thought he was going to get an umbrella, but he had grabbed the onboard radio instead. Hello, this is Ooishi. Do you read? Greetings, greetings. Yes, this is the Akanamayo's SP. Ooishi-san, we read you loud and clear. I'm currently in front of the Forestry Services equipment shed. Not the one in the direction of Yakuchi, the one in Taketsudo, if you head there from Hinamazawa. Affirmative, copy that. There's some suspicious people in the shed. Proceeding to investigate. If you don't hear back from me in 5 minutes, get in touch with the local police substation and have them send a cruiser as soon as possible. If you would, please. Understood. Well then, should we go take a look? Oh, here we go. Come on, let's go. Since he was first confined here, he had heard the sound of a car multiple times, so he just thought the far-off sound was more of the same. However, the reaction from his captors was, until now, something he hadn't seen before. They jumped, reacting as if shocked by a jolt of electricity, and pressed against the window, cautiously peering outside. They stopped. Somebody from the forestry service? This is bad. Nah, looks like a cop to me. One of the captors lifted the boy by his collar and pressed a blade against his cheek. Hey kid, keep quiet for a bit. I think you know this, but if you try and shout, there'll be problems. Toshiki Inugai was sure that the doctor had reported things to the police. He had felt relief when he thought that he was saved, but not imagining that his captors would resort to violence when they were cornered. His anxiety remained unabated. What do we do? Gotta buy time. Take the kid and slip out of the back. We'll meet back here when the heat's off. One of the perpetrators grabbed the boy by the collar and forced him to stand. Of course, Toshiki Inigai tried to resist by feigning that his illness had been aggravated by this rough treatment, but his captors paid no heed. I haven't got time for it. Bang, bang, bang! The door was violently banged upon. Excuse me. Hello? The door was banged on again. Toshiki Inigai hesitated for a moment to respond to that voice by yelling. However, while he was being indecisive, his mouth was covered, taking that option away from him. The leader of the captors waved at the other to go. The younger perpetrator nodded in response, and while keeping the boy's mouth covered, started heading towards the back door. Yellow, do you need something? How do you do? This is the police. Would you mind opening the door? This sudden rain has us in a bit of trouble. I'll just open. The moment the lock was undone, Ooishi forced the door open. With a gleam of menace in his eyes, he pushed the man aside as he stepped into the room. Then, in the small and empty room, he was able to quickly discern that the boy he was looking for was nowhere to be seen. The other one took him. I heard this was an equipment shed for the forestry service, but there's nothing here at all. There was nothing inside the room that would indicate this was an equipment shed. There was only a mountain of blankets, indicating that somebody was sleeping here, alongside empty food packets strewn about. It's been empty for some time now. Never seen no equipment stored around here. But this is the Forestry Service's building, isn't it? You from the Forestry Service? How about yeah, please? The two of them glared at each other suspiciously. Both Ooishi and the man steadfastly refused to reveal their identity before the other did. The man, judging from the sharp look in Uishi's eyes, realized that it would be hard to talk his way out of this one. Is he asking if it's the police when Ooishi said he was a cop when coming in? Is it? No matter what he said, the most time he could buy would probably be only a few dozen seconds. Only the sound of rain filled this tense moment. Oops, smack. Just then they heard the sound of a struggle from far off. Ooishi had a hunch. There was no doubt that Akasaka, who was circling round back, had run into the perpetrators who were trying to slip away. Oh shit. As Ooishi thought that, the man in front of him reacted a moment faster. The man swung with an attack that was more intended to obscure Ooishi's vision rather than actually hit him in the face. Seizing this opportunity, the man aimed a kick at Ooishi's groin without any hesitation, but he missed his mark and was unable to land that critical blow. Critical blow, that's a good way of putting it. The man, trying to pin Ooishi, grabbed him by the base of his neck with both hands and fiercely tried to push him down. But, as Ooishi fell backwards, as if kicking the man upward, he dug his foot into the man's midsection. With that leg acting as a fulcrum? I am near that word. Did he use some weird words in this game? The man was flung by the fallen Ooishi as if by a circle throw. The two of them squared off in the pouring rain. Isn't this interesting? You want to go? Ooishi, as if trying to cheer himself on, grinned smugly. He then stood up while brushing the mud off himself. Even though he countered the assault, Ooishi was getting up rather awkwardly compared to the man who he threw, who swiftly sprang to his feet. Ooishi-san! Hurry! Akasaka's voice rang out from the distance. Excuse me. Judging from the distress in his voice, he was already engaged in a fight and wanted Ooishi to reconvene with him. But Ooshi's hands were full as well. Akasaka-san! Sorry, but can you wait a bit? The man raised both fists into a stance that hinted at him being acquainted with karate or some other form of martial art. Of course, Ooishi, as an officer of the law, was decently versed in judo. He also had the moxie to have been through his fair share of fights before. Despite? No, because of that. He could tell that the man in front of him was quite a bit better at fighting than he was. Ah, damn it. Thinking that this was going to be easy just because the order came from the Sonozaki family to release the hostage had been a big mistake. You pretty good? It's been a while since I got this worked up. Ooishi played off the situation like there was no sweat. His opponent, seeing his attitude, took that to mean that Ooishi wasn't going to go down easily. The man wildly charged forward, attempting to grab Ooishi. If the man managed a successful clinch from his low stance, Ooishi would be tackled to the ground and end up being mounted. It was something you saw often when children fought, but it really was a bad position, since you couldn't do much once you were in it. Ooishi, responding to that move, also lowered his stance to collide with the man head on. The moment they clashed, Ooishi grabbed the man's lapel. As he yanked the lapel upwards, he smashed into the man's solar plexus with the elbow of the same arm. It was a move from Ooishi's own personal brand of brawling judo. He then grabbed on with his free hand and attempted to throw his opponent with both hands, but the man lowered his centre of gravity and swung his arms in a large arc, entwining them with Ooishi's. Not only that, but he had forced both of Ooishi's elbows to the outside, and Ooishi, now in an awkward position, was in danger of exposing his back with his hand still clutching the man's chest. This guy practiced Aikido, or grappling, didn't he? Ooishi, cursing the fact that his fingers were twisted into the man's shirt and couldn't get away, released his grip. But he was still in the awkward position of being bent over, and to top it off, at zero range. The man was able to read Ooishi's movements completely as he tried to squirm his way into a better position. And then took the palm of his hands and swiftly clapped them over both of Ooishi's ears. Ah! Clapping the ears in any other martial art, except for self-defense, was basically forbidden. Karate and judo didn't recognize it as a legal technique. It was that much of a simple and dangerous attack. Ooishi raised both his hands as he tried to reflexively clutch at his own ears, but before that could happen, the man wrapped his arms around Ooishi's neck. His thick biceps clenched firmly around the base of Ooishi's neck like a vice. Oh god, Red. Ooishi instinctively thought he was going to be killed. After all, it wasn't hard to believe that a man like this, who was accustomed to fighting, could crush his opponent's neck from this position. But his opponent didn't do that. He had chosen to keep his hold and force Ooishi to lose consciousness. That's why Ooishi, at that moment, even though his face was twitching, was grinning widely. Even though his opponent had a chance to kill him, he didn't choose to. He was thinking, this guy has no intention of killing me. However, even though that might be the case, the man's hold on his neck was by no means gentle. In no time at all, Ooishi's consciousness began to fade. Having the experience of being taken down countless times in judo during his student days, Ooishi was utterly resigned to the fact that it was over. Oh no. Akasaka was finally recovering from the intense pain of being kicked in a rather sensitive area. He had bumped into the captive carrying the boy by the back entrance. He had seen Toshiki Inugai's picture plenty of times, but wasn't able to immediately ascertain if the boy in front of him was the real deal, what with his mouth covered in packing tape. Also, With his limited experience, it wasn't hard for him to panic over how to deal with the situation. Of course, the perpetrator didn't overlook this momentary lapse. His kick landed squarely in a critical spot, with Akasaka not even having time to call for help. As the man flung the boy over his shoulder, he headed towards the front of the shed. But upon hearing Ooishi's bellowing voice, he gave up on going in that direction. He then dashed off towards the forest, as if the weight of the boy slung over his shoulder wasn't even there. Akasaka was lost for a moment. Meeting up with Ooishi, who was fighting with the enemy, was by far the safer option. But he couldn't just lose sight of the fleeing man. Akasaka stood up and chased after the captor's back. He ran through a short thicket, branches and fallen leaves crunching underfoot. The tips of branches raked and clawed at him, small scratches inscribing themselves on his body one after another. He kept on stepping into puddles of mud, and his shoes were soon filled with murky water. For Akasaka, travelling through the unexplored forest was, even though this was an emergency situation, extremely unpleasant. "Stop! This is the police!" As he said that, he regretted it immediately, as it was but a waste of breath. There was no thief in the world that would politely stop when told to by the police. To a city boy like Akasaka, running through this forest was an arduous task. However, it must have been no easy task either for the man carrying the minister's grandson. He neither gained nor lost ground in his pursuit. Akasaka, upon realising that, gained back a bit of composure. Just keep on chasing him. We're running in the same conditions. In fact, the man running with an awkward stride was at far more of a disadvantage. They couldn't run forever. Eventually, he'd definitely trip and fall. As long as he was being hounded, he would definitely stumble. And soon, his wish was fulfilled. Wow! The man who had stepped in something and lost his balance was no longer able to bear the weight of the boy, dropping him. Akasaka, in all honesty, didn't care about the perpetrator at all. Just as long as he could ensure the safety of Toshiki Inagai, that's the right attitude to have. So if the perpetrator ran off by himself, it was perfectly acceptable. But it seemed that Toshiki was important to the man as well, and didn't elect to just run away empty-handed. Akasaka didn't know what to do in this kind of situation. His first priority should probably be to ensure the safety of the boy, subduing his captor being less important. Grappling with the perpetrator wasn't something he planned on, but most likely it was either do or die. Akasaka's moment of indecision proved to be fatal. The man, aiming right between, or rather, for both of Akasaka's eyes, struck out with a jab. Ugh. Not wanting that, Akasaka raised both his hands to shield his face. At that moment, the man kicked at his unguarded midsection. The pain almost felt like his vital organs were being squeezed out of his body, but he latched onto his opponent's leg. But his opponent didn't hesitate one bit. Leading with his seized foot, the man jumped at Akasaka, applying pressure and pushing him down. Akasaka was unable to withstand that and fell, but under no circumstances was he letting that leg go. The two men fell together in a tangled heap. The man was desperate to pull his leg free from Akasaka, but having fallen in an awkward position, was unable to. The two of them rolled around on the ground, floundering about trying to gain an advantage. But Akasaka, who was holding onto his opponent's knee with both hands, and that opponent, who had complete freedom to move his upper body, were in two completely different situations. The man gained a positional advantage on Akasaka, who still latched onto his leg and couldn't move away, and pounded full force on his head with both his fists. Not only that, he found a rock nearby and beat it against Akasaka's skull. Oh shit! Thwack, thwack, thwack. The difference between being hit with a fist and being hit with a rock was vast. Yeah. Akasaka quickly thought of letting go of the man's leg to free his hands to protect his head, but if he let go here, the man would get away. If he didn't dig in here, everything would be for naught. The boy he was trying to save was right there. He was going to save him and go back to Tokyo. If he could do that, then it was goodbye to this freakish village. Bam, crack, thud. Without looking, I could tell my forehead had split open and was gushing blood. It's suddenly gone to first person. But I didn't let go of the man's leg. How could I? I won't let go. When the man realised that no matter how much he beat my head he wasn't getting away, he used both his hands to grab my throat as if to crush my windpipe. I pulled my head back as a slight form of resistance, but it was of no use. The man's hands enveloped my neck and began to crush it like a vice. It was less about the pain of not being able to breathe, so much as it was choking so hard I felt like I was going to throw up. It felt like my stomach was going to turn itself inside out, but I could only endure it. Damn it. My throat hurts. I won't let go. I can't let go. I didn't want to be here. I wanted to resolve this and go back to Tokyo. Go back to Tokyo and talk to Yukie. All about our unborn child. We were going to talk about our bright future. I had no intention of loosening my grip. However, it loosened just a bit, and the man's leg came free. The man kicked as hard as possible, and I tumbled backwards. My head was spinning, and I was unable to get up right away. No, I couldn't even put any strength into getting up in the first place. Even so, I couldn't back down. If I let him escape now, this chance would never come again. Even just catching their scent was nothing short of a miracle. If we weren't able to get the minister's grandson back here, there wouldn't be another chance. The man tried to drag the boy to his feet, but the kid was displaying some unexpected resistance, allowing me to get up unnoticed. I grasped the rock the man had just beat me over the head with. Now it's my turn. Yarg! The rock should be able to supplement what meagre strength I had left, adding more than enough power to the attack. My fist, still wrapped around the rock, dug into the side of the man's torso. Seems like it hurt him quite a bit. Oh. Gah. The man rolled around for a bit, clutching his side. Freed from the man's grip, the boy hid behind me. Tashiki Inigai, right? I've come to help you. To the boy, those were the words he was waiting for the most. But the crisis was still not over. That was because even though he was still clutching at his side, the man had gotten up again and had taken a fighting stance. I could see in the man's eyes the resentment at the pain I had caused him and the confidence that he could still beat me. If we were to clash head on again, he might not even stop if my head was split open. Stop resisting. Surrender quietly. You should just hand the boy over. Do you want me to snap your neck? Who would listen to you now? Reinforcements were already on their way. There's nowhere for you to run. The man reacted adversely to the word reinforcements. That was because he now knew that arguing like this wasn't just a waste of time, but put him closer and closer to danger. Realising that, the man shifted mental gears almost too quickly. And let's finish this fast. How about this? What? What the man pulled from his back pocket was of all things a gun. Of course, I'm a police officer. It's not like I don't know what a gun is. I don't have to be a police officer. But having one pointed at me was something I'd never experienced before. Was it real? Of course it was. There's no way it'd be a replica in a situation like this. Put both your hands behind your head and lay down quietly. Don't get cocky, you villain. I won't do anything you say. You stupid idiot. Do you not know what this is without me shooting you with it? Then shoot. Reinforcements will hear the gunshot and head right over here. You stupid. We're in the middle of the forest and on top of that, it's raining. They'll never hear a thing. As long as he still held that gun, no matter how much I yelled at him, I was at a distinct disadvantage. But I still had a fighting chance. If I were in his shoes, instead of wasting time yelling at each other like this, I would just shoot him and take the boy. That way was the fastest, and would suppress any sort of further resistance from him. But the man was demanding my surrender without having fired a shot, meaning that he either didn't want to shoot or couldn't. In other words, the man in front of me was soft. If I could buy even just a little more time, the factors that would lead to my victory were numerous. Ooishi was probably on his way, and the reinforcements was called for before coming here should already be well on their way too. Not only that, they should have contacted the local police box. Without a doubt, somebody stationed in the village would be here much quicker than that. Damn it! Do I have to put a bullet in you to understand how dangerous this thing is? There's no escape. Don't add to your crimes. At that moment, I heard the rustling of foliage and heavy footsteps approaching. If Ooishi was coming here, it was a whole new ball game. The man couldn't have more than one gun. Ooishi-san, over here, huh? I thought that the time was on my side, but I failed to even imagine that the enemy could also have reinforcements. Oh shit. You could tell the man who just appeared was one of the perpetrators just by looking at him. What are you doing? If you don't hurry up, the police will get you. Stop lollygagging. Damn it. What happened to Ooishi-san? Ah, that chubby fella. He's down for the count. He is? Damn it. The boy, sensitive to the impending danger, curled up behind my back. How could this be, damn it? Your buddy isn't coming. Serves you right. Shoes on the other foot now. As I backed up against a large tree while still protecting the boy, the second man also pulled out a gun. Only saying this twice. Put your hands on your head and lie down. I refuse. Oh no. As I shouted in protest, blood erupted from my left shoulder. It took a few moments to register that I had been shot. Compared to the ones from in movies and TV dramas, the first actual gunshot I heard was simple and mundane. In fact, the sound was more akin to the small fireworks I used to buy from the corner store as a kid. But there was no comparing the pain. It was a fear you knew only after you've been shot. Sir? You okay? You okay? The boy, in his confusion, tugged at my clothes, agitating the wound even further. I wanted to put on a bold face and reassure him, but my voice was hoarse and had the opposite effect. I'm alright. I've already called for backup. There'll be a full squad here soon. It'll be quicker to to put on through your head. Put one through your head after the cops get you. For the cop. Oh my god. But the family said no needless killing, so I'm taking it easy on you. Family, you say. Don't mess with me, or I ain't holding back. This was bad. It was very, very bad. The second man was a completely different beast than the first. He had no signs of indecisiveness or mercy. If this man said he'd shoot, he'd shoot. He wasn't somebody that a man like me could buy time from. I really hated to admit it, but at that moment, the image of Yukie's smiling face crossed the back of my mind. I knew what that meant. I was warning myself to not throw my life away over a matter of pride. Of course, I didn't want to die here. I was just starting a new life with Yukie, and I wanted to see the face of our soon-to-be-born child. Why should I risk my life for some minister's grandson when I was at such a critical juncture in my own life? Ah, damn it. I need to stop rambling at myself. So what do I do now? Give up the boy and extend my own life? What a good idea! Everybody's life is precious. My own life was in danger. Nobody would blame me. God damn it, it hurts. If I had known it would be this painful, I wouldn't have played the tough guy. My biggest miscalculation, though, was that the sound of the gunshot was far quieter than I had imagined. If it was only that loud, it would be drowned out by the rain in the forest. It wasn't something that somebody far away could hear. Damn it. Just wait. I don't want to die. I don't want to kill ya. As long as you understand. Don't shoot, okay? Don't shoot. I have a wife waiting for me at home. I don't want to die. I won't shoot as long as you don't yell or nothing. Just quietly put your hands on your head and lie down. Will you really? You'll keep your promise, right? This is a promise between men. I will. It's a promise between men. Keep your promise, keep it. I'm going to get down on the ground, okay? I'm getting down. I'll keep my promise, so stop pointing that gun at me. You're still thinking of shooting me, aren't you? You want to shoot me, don't you? When I get down on the ground, you're just going to shoot me in the back of the head, aren't you? I won't. Fine. I put it away. I put the gun away. It's a promise between men. There. No problem now, right? Yeah, absolutely no complaints. He's back. Yeah. Ugh. It was over in a flash. The moment he lowered his gun, Ooishi didn't let his chance slip by. Ooishi had been assessing the situation for quite some time from behind the two men. But since they had their guns trained on me, he didn't really have a chance to jump in. Seeing the look on Ooishi's face indicated that he wanted me to create an opening, I took on that role completely. He did seem different. Ooishi forcefully lifted the arm that was holding the gun. He then took the gun from the man's hand in only an instant. The other man, who was a bit slow in grasping what was happening, pointed his gun at them, but with his ally grappling with Ooishi, he couldn't pull the trigger. If that man was the one that was wrestling with Ooishi at the moment, he might have shot without hesitation. But this man wouldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot. Ooishi kicked the other man away, and while aiming the stolen gun with his left hand, pulled out his own. With guns akimbo, he was aiming at both men at the same time. I do believe that's checkmate. It was perfectly played. But heedless of the guns pointed at them, the men shouted "Scram!" as they scattered away at full speed. It was over in an instant. Those two running away without putting up a fight was honestly unexpected. Ooishi, quietly clicking his tongue in admonishment, slipped both guns into his pants pockets. Those guys know their stuff. What do you mean? An officer won't fire at somebody who's fleeing. I want to keep my pension here. Ooishi and I grinned at each other. You Tashiki Inigai? The grandson of the Minister of Construction Inigai? Yes! This is going to be a major incident. We probably only kept the tail off the lizard though. Yeah, I'll respawn. Ooishi smiled amusedly. The fact that the Yonagafuchi Defense Alliance, or rather the Sonozaki family behind them, was pulling the strings was apparent, but proving it wouldn't be easy. And, with apologies to Ooishi, this incident was unlikely to go public. If this caused an uproar, it would obviously lead to the minister losing his office. With HQ having decided that doing so was in the national interest, this would probably be cleaned up quietly. It might be a rough way of saying it, but this was born in the shadows and was going to die in the shadows. Ooishi probably already understood the implications behind this incident. For the time being, let's cordon off the area, since it seems that one of them still has a gun. Yeah. After that, let's get Inigai-kun to safety and get you to the hospital. As the tension in the situation faded, the pain from the gunshot wound in my shoulder blossomed once again. My forehead was also stinging painfully and had grown hot enough to start a fire. Thinking that the tension had caused me to sweat, I wiped my forehead, but what came off was a large amount of blood. I realised that my shirt had been stained bright crimson from the blood flowing from my head. I turned around. The boy was safe and sound, without a doubt. There would probably be an investigation on the men who ran, but that was for another day. At this point in time, I could safely say we had cleared the major hurdle of securing the boy's safety. Yay! Oh, as soon as I recognised that, it felt like the lights in my head had been hit by a power failure. It's like, as soon as you get what you need to be done, any pain that you were in before becomes worse and then you faint. It's funny, innit? Your body can keep you around, or your mind can keep you around until the important stuff is done. My knees buckled from underneath me, the ground there feeling as soft as a cloud. It didn't feel unpleasant, even as I was covered in the rain-soaked mud. Ooishi came closer, asking if I was okay, but somehow I couldn't tell. I turned off the switch to the last light in my head. The exhaustion enveloped me. Sleep. Something softer than any blanket wrapped around me. Yay, we saved him. That was good. I enjoyed that. Very, very tense. Oh, only one new tip. A very kind person. Maybe the last 3 tips will be the next chapter because there's not much left. Mission accomplished. Yeah, it is. That was quite a long part. Maybe we should have just split it into 2 episodes. Oh well. Very kind person. Let's check it out. My voice is going now. Patients admitted to the hospital can only accept calls at fixed times. That's why she wouldn't be receiving a call from him today. Yesterday, she had teased him that he got lonely easily, so he might have struggled with the idea of calling her sooner. Yurie? Oh shit. That was much easier to imagine. Rather than that, he might just be too busy to call. His wife. I'll just call her that. Because he's just that type of person. Yukie, that's the one. Whispering that, smiled to herself. I always find it hard to remember sort of Japanese names. I don't know why. The announcement that visiting hours were over played over the hospital intercom along with some music. She exchanged pleasantries with the family of the patient that was staying in the same room as her. Probably eager for his mother to be discharged, their small child was wearing a beaming smile. That child's mother was pregnant in the bed next to mine, with what may be their new brother or sister. They were probably ready to burst with the expectations, dreams, and worries of having a new sibling. The joys of a growing family. Bathing in those warm feelings, I stroked my own belly, which had grown quite large. I talked with him about how many children we wanted to have. We talked about how if we had 3, it would certainly be lively. However, there was the inescapable worry of whether I would be able to handle giving birth that many times. I suppose so. There's no mother out there who would hate to give birth because of that worry, though. Yukie, smiling as she said that to herself, gently stroked her stomach. The Metropolitan Public Safety Division. The place where that man's sense of justice had led him. That person was actually a very gentle, very fragile person. He didn't talk much about the specifics, but I didn't think he was suited for the assignment he was on right now. But as long as he said he was going to try his best, I would watch over him warmly. Your father, you see, is a very hard worker, you know. Could you? Yukie seemed to be enjoying herself as she talked to her own belly. At that moment, Yukie suddenly became concerned about something and looked out the window. It used to be this time, long ago. She remembered that when she was little, around this time in the countryside where her grandmother lived, the Higurashi would fill the air with their chorus. This was the middle of Tokyo. Unlike in the countryside, you couldn't hear the song of the Higurashi. But for some reason, at that moment, Yukie felt that she wanted to hear that song. Oh, it was just seeing Yukie and the baby still in the hospital. It's nice. That was a nice tip. Didn't give us much information or anything, but it was a nice tip. Anyway, that's the end of chapter 4. Let's save. And yeah, it's bound to be in it. Chapter 5 is bound to be the last one. I don't know. I don't know if this game is going to do it, really. Into chapter 4. Okay. Well, okay then. This has been Greeny XI. Hope you've enjoyed this, well, yeah, extra long episode for sure. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in a bit to see what happens after the rescue and everything. See you in a bit, folks.